How can you get started bird watching? That's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, this is Jill from the North Woods, talking about getting outside into nature, one small step at a time. Today, we're going to talk about how you could get into bird watching. Now, you may say, I didn't even know I wanted to go bird watching, but I have to tell you, first of all, I have seen a ton of people get into bird watching. There's a young guy at my church, ran into him during my bird watching vacation, and he had just gotten started. Not only that, I think he's going to end up having seen more birds this year than I have. Then I met this great couple while we were out hiking in this park. There's a great owl there. He always sits in the same tree. This couple just moved into town, and they were going bird watching and looking for great locations. So we kind of got them hooked up into some ways, and I thought I'd share with you how you could get started with bird watching. Now, the first thing to know about bird watching is it's a lot of fun, and it can be some good exercise. It's not great exercise because you're constantly stopping and looking for birds and looking through your binoculars and checking this out and walking over there. But what we find is that we've been outside trekking around for 4 hours. So it's not cardio exercise, but it is getting outside. It's getting in tune with nature, which is good for your stress and good for your heart. They say getting out in nature is one of the healthiest things that you can do. It's also a way for you to connect with nature outside. One of the interesting things is that it slows you down. It sharpens your sense of observation. There's a great new show called The Residents, and it's about a murder in the White House. And the chief detective, she's a bird watcher. And you know why she's so good at observing things? Because she watches birds. That's kind of part of the narrative. It's a great show, by the way. But you can also find that it's really easy to do. It's low cost. It's something that you can start right at home, right in the park down the street or in your backyard, or just by opening up a window. And when you start finding birds, the whole outdoors becomes a lot more interesting. Like I said, I grew up in the North Woods, and I knew there were birds. I mean, there was the blue one and then the red one, and well, there was a couple black ones, and I didn't know anything about them. And now when I go back and visit where I grew up, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of cool birds up there. I had no idea. And I think I would have appreciated everything better knowing that. And now, Em and I, every year, during migration season, we go out and hit bird watching hard. And what's great about it is that some of these birds are coming from the coast of Louisiana, Texas. Some of them are coming from South and Central America. Some of them are coming all the way from the very tippy tip of South America, and they fly right through my backyard, right through my neighborhood, right through the places around me. So I don't have to spend the money to go see them. They come see me. And every year it's a little bit different. Last year, saw a ton of widgeons. 2 years ago, I saw a ton of kingbirds. This year, not so many of either of those, but we're seeing a lot more of everything else. So it changes year to year about what you get to see. And like I said, you get out during migration season, depending on where you live, everything kind of comes to you. And then you can take maybe the next step of going in and going places to see birds, traveling to the Gulf states or traveling to South America and visiting birds. Or even when I was in Iceland, I got to see a lot of birds, not the puffins. They were already gone. But first of all, like I said, the first step of getting started in bird watching is start right there at your home. Open windows, listen to birds. Just get familiar with the birds that are in your neighborhood. In my neighborhood, I have sparrows living in my gutters. I can identify them because I'm a bird watcher. I have cardinals, blue jays, crows. I have a lot of crows in this particular neighborhood. My bird, my pet bird, he does not like the crows. And there's a good number of birds. My friend sits at her house, and she sees probably about 80% of the birds we go out looking for in the deep woods, right there in her backyard. So you can see a lot. And it also will help you if you put up bird feeders. There's even some smart bird feeders that have little cameras on them. I just put up some Blink cameras. That's a company owned by Amazon. And I just put some Blink cameras out and around so I can see what is out in my backyard. And just look for what you get. Sometimes you get common birds, like I said, like chickadees and cardinals and robins and crows and sparrows. But sometimes you get something rare in your bird backyard. One night I had some people over and we had my fire pit going. and eastern screech owls, little juveniles, and they're tiny. So they're so adorable. We're flying back and forth across my backyard. I also happen to have a good collection of bats that fly in my backyard. They're eating all the mosquitoes, so I love them. But it's really great to get just that right in your backyard. You can listen with your ear. If you are a music person and you start learning their songs, it gets helpful. I use the app Merlin. I also hook up a microphone because one thing about podcasters are we have a lot of microphones. So I hook up a microphone to my phone and use this with Merlin, and it can hear birds better. So you can just use Merlin on your phone without a microphone, or you can hook up a microphone that you can just get off of Amazon, and it'll hear everything a little bit easier. But what happens when you start using Merlin, there's like a big debate in the bird watching world about it, is they say, oh, well, people are just writing down, oh, it said this and it said that. And sometimes Merlin is wrong and it gets confused between different kinds of words, but most of the time it is correct. What it lets you do is it lets you know, oh, that's what that bird sounds like. So I picked up on Merlin an ovenbird. I hadn't seen an ovenbird in years and years and years, and I had actually seen it the last time, and it picked it up. So suddenly Em and I take off, and we go looking for the ovenbird. And the other cool thing is it can even hear things like ducks and swans and tell them apart. I had no idea that you can tell a greater yellow legs from a lesser yellow legs, or a pectoral sandpiper from, even in very small degree birds, it can tell the difference between them. And once you start learning how that bird sounds, now you can find it. So I started getting good at Merlin with some special birds in hearing their sounds. And when I went camping with my friend that I'm going camping with this year, I suddenly could pick them up when I wasn't really particularly going bird watching. I heard one bird and its bird sounded a little bit like a little this, a little that, a little this, a little that. And if you learn their song mnemonics, I'm like, oh, that's a red-eyed vireo. That's what it sounds like. Or if you listen to a towhee, it is drink your tea, drink your tea. And then when you hear that, you're like, oh, there we go, drink your tea. I have a towhee. And so you start getting good at it. Or this was actually really special, is there's something called an indigo bunting, and he's bright blue. It's one of the rare blue birds out there that are that sharp. He's very shy when he gets into my neck of the woods. But for whatever reason, at our campground, there were tons of them, and they were just out there on the trail. But their song sounds like, fire, fire, where, here, here, see it, see it. And so you can find them very easily because you start getting good at it. So learning your bird songs, and like I said, the best way to learn your bird songs is Merlin. Then you can start hearing them. And so when we walk through just a forest, you can tell, oh, there's a this around, or there's a that around, or wait a minute, I don't even know what that is. I better go look that up. Getting a field guide, getting a little book. I use an app called iBird. And iBird, it comes in several different levels, but there's iBird Ultimate. It costs around $19. The nice thing about iBird is that it downloads to your phone. So if you're in the middle of the woods, you don't have internet access, you'll be able to identify birds with that iBird app. And it'll give you some behaviors. Like there's a Louisiana water thrush and a northern water thrush. And if the Louisiana is there, it's pumping its tail. Well, if it's a northern, it doesn't pump its tail, so that it'll help you differentiate. Or it'll even say, this is a bird that maybe, when you're looking at a bird and you think you have something like the Louisiana or the northern water thrush, it'll say these birds are similar. So maybe you think you have this, but maybe you really have that. And so it'll help you identify them. And that will help you do that. So like I said, either a guidebook, if you're a book person, I like apps. So I use the app. And also the Merlin app and the iBird has an iPhoto bird identifier app. If you take a picture of a bird, you could put it through either Merlin or this iPhoto app, and it'll tell you what birds you have. So that's kind of exciting too. There's also another app I use, and it's only on the Apple environment, which is called Birds Near Me. It uses the Cornell bird data from the ebird.org website. And it will tell you where you're at. It'll show you on a map where you are. You can pick it. You could say what date range. I like to say within the last week, because especially during migration season, things come and go. But then you can say how many mile radius. So within a 2 mile radius of me within the last week, what have other people seen here? And so then if you're going around looking for a bird and someone will say, no one has seen the Louisiana water thrush here, but they have seen a couple northern water thrushes. Chances are you are seeing what other people are seeing, and so that makes it useful too. Then if you can get yourself a pair of binoculars, I know that is kind of the first big cost thing. I like to go with the 10 by 42s. An 8 by 42 is perfectly good. And there's a lot of knockoff brands on Amazon that are really pretty good. The good brand, the one I really like, are Vortex, Vortex. Vortex, they make great binoculars. And they even had one that I got from my brother around $80. So it's not the most expensive thing that you can. You can buy some fabulously expensive binoculars, but you don't have to. As you're getting into it, it'll be easier. But having a good pair of binoculars will make it much easier for you to spot birds, particularly we get into phases, right? Back when I started bird watching in March, I had my camera out and I was taking pictures of all the birds because I could see them at the treetops. Then all of a sudden everything leafed out and now everything's hiding in the leaves at the tops of the trees. It's very rare when I could get a good shot at a bird right now. So then I go to binoculars and then eventually it gets so leafed out. The birds are now in breeding season. I have to actually use Merlin and then we go looking for it. And so we actually hear it first before we see it. But that kind of comes with the different phases. So getting a very good pair of binoculars will help you. And, keeping track. So my friend M, she is a paper person. And so she likes to write down every bird we see. And so we put them in the eBird app. I think Audubon also has some sort of a tracking system as well. But eBird has this fantastic way. Someday I'll do a podcast or a YouTube video on how to basically use eBird to reverse engineer and find birds that you're looking for, but essentially keeping track of it. So I keep track of it on an app. M keeps track of it on a piece of paper. I am not much of a paper person. And, that's just kind of the way it is. And the other part of it too is then start just doing it. Once you start doing it, go to local parks, lakes. I find rivers, gentle rivers to be good, wetlands, marshes, wooded trails, all great places to see birds. And then you start getting an idea of where are good spots. What do birds like? Now I sort of see that they like gentle rivers where there's sort of a tree line and a river, or a prairie and a river. They like where these two environments crisscross each other. So that's where I've had my best luck, but it's going to be different places for different birds. So if I go to the marsh, I'm going to see one kind of sets of birds. If I'm going to go to the oak prairie, that's not too far from my house, I'm going to see a different set of birds. And they're fun to see all those kinds of birds and get a mishmash of them. Another great way for you to get started in all of this is to join clubs. There's Audubon, there's a lot of bird watching chapters. There's different nature centers that have tours, guided bird watches. We went on a bird watch at Rocky Mountain National Park. We had someone take us out on a bird walk and we found all sorts of birds that we had never seen before because I'm not from Colorado. So this was really kind of fun. But even that, there's meetup groups. I belong to several Telegram groups. And being a part of these Telegram groups are kind of fun because someone will say, hey, I just saw Ross's goose at this one particular park. That was me. Me and Em found a Ross's goose who was there late, standing in the middle of the field. They will help you find other birds by being involved in these groups. And sometimes they go out together and do kind of, like I said, these bird walks. It's really good to just kind of get involved in a group. One thing I like to do is because I'm a reader is I read now a lot of books. Jennifer Ackerman, there's Peter Wolbein, I think that's his name, have great books on nature and trees and just learning more about them. And as you learn more about bird behavior, Bernard Heinrich, another good one too, they are great. And you learn a lot about bird behavior and what makes them tick. And so that's kind of fun as well. Sometimes you can also see nests. So someone told me, because I'd never seen a crow's nest before, the easiest way to see a crow's nest is just, and I did a podcast about this, is to look to see where they fly in and out during breeding season. And if you see crows going to this constant tree spot all the time, chances are there's a nest up there, and I found it. So that's kind of interesting as well. So getting involved and reading about them and understanding what makes them tick will help you become a better bird watcher. Getting involved in understanding the sizes, you'll start to get a feel for how they fly differently than different birds. You know, what a warbler does is it flies a bit differently than what a robin does. And the other fun part is just going out and seeing how many you can see. You know, turn it into a game. Go with your friends. Go with your kids or your family. There's all sorts of places that people will birdwatch. Like I said, Em has a great backyard for it. Mine's not as great because she has an oak tree and they love oak trees and I don't have an oak. There's a lot of urban bird watchers. There's people who are really into water birds, field birds, forest birds. There's kind of something for everyone in there, depending on what you like and what you like to do. The other part, too, is if you get a bird feeder in your backyard, you can start getting birds to come to your backyard, even if you haven't had them before. So Niger seed is great for finches. Suet's great for woodpeckers and chickadees. Oranges are great for orioles. Jelly will attract orioles and catbirds. Yeah, Ken catbirds are fantastic. So you can start making your own backyard environment if you have a yard, looking for that. And then, like I said, you get different ones during different seasons. So, for example, in spring, that's when the migration magic happens. That's when I'm all excited because they're coming through here. Some of these birds are only here for a couple of days. They're flying up to Canada, the Arctic, to nest. And so they come through here. They're here for like a day or two and then they're gone. So I try to see as many birds during that time as I possibly can. Summer, you get a lot of birds that will nest and feed in your particular area. Catbirds feed in my area. Robins, crows, cardinals, bluebirds, blue jays. I mean, we have a lot of them, and they start nesting and feeding, and so then that's cute because then you can start seeing babies. Well, we get these woodpecker babies, and they don't have the sense God gave them because they go up onto metal poles and they'll start pecking on them, and you're like, dude, you're not going to get very far with that. And then in fall, there's another migration as they go back south, back to warmer weather. And so then you can catch another batch of birds coming through the direction. Usually, like I said, it's different. It's different every year and it's different spring to fall. When you're doing the migrations, keep in mind about the wind. Birds will migrate in spring when the wind is coming from the south because it helps push them up. Fall, it's the other way around. When there's a wind going south, they'll ride that all the way down south. And then in winter, you get the tough survivors. You get the ones that really hang it out there with you. Here, we get eagles, crows. I already mentioned all the birds we get, but we have a number of birds that stay here all winter long and some that come here during winter. So we'll get some juncos and some pine siskins and that. But this is something that you can do. It's low pressure. There's no pressure involved. It can help you get created with nature. If you have kids, this is something that you could create like a bingo card where you say a red bird or a bird on a wire or a bird singing a song or a bird flying high, anything like that, and make a bingo card out of it and then get your kids involved in that, just to make it more fun for them. All sorts of ways that you can bird watch. It's a great way to get to know your area. Like I said, the people I met last week, hi if you're watching out there, but they were getting to know, I think, this area. They just moved here. And so it's a great way to get to know your community by getting to know all its parks and all its woods and marshes and everything else like that. And then the last part of it is that sometimes there's set organizations. In my neck of the woods, we have the Crane Foundation. I have the International Owl Center. And so they also do a lot of activities and speeches. Jennifer Ackman came to the Owl Center and did a speech there because she wrote a whole owl book. But it's a great way to get started. And like I said, you don't have to go crazy with it. You don't have to spend a lot of money with it. But I think that once you start doing it, you start finding that you get very addicted to it. You start looking for them everywhere, and you start looking for other places you can go to find different birds. So my challenge to you is go find some birds. See if you can't. And the next week, go find 5 new birds, whether you're doing it as a pajama birding party from your pajamas in your back window of your bedroom, or you're going for a walk in a local park. Go try to find 5 new birds. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. Appreciate you watching. Please know that next week I am going camping, so I won't be having an episode, but it will come back the week after that. I appreciate all of you out there. Leave a comment. You can always email me at jill@startwithsmallsteps.com.